All right, we are about to dive into this incredible story about wealth, work, and what freedom really means. It's from the classic book, The Richest Man in Babylon. And honestly, it might just change how you think about your job forever.
If you scroll through social media for like 5 minutes, you'll see the same message over and over. Get that passive income, escape the 9 to 5, quit the grind. The ultimate dream apparently is to do nothing while money just magically appears in your bank account. But what if that whole idea is wrong? What if the very thing we're all trying to run away from, our work, is actually our greatest friend?
I mean, this quote right here, work was made for slaves, it pretty much sums up that modern mindset, doesn't it? This was said by a character in our story named Harangula. He's a young guy who inherited a massive fortune that he never lifted a finger to earn. He just completely looks down on labor, with absolutely no idea that his entire luxurious world was built on the very thing he despises.
So our story kicks off on a caravan, traveling from Damascus, and we've got our two main guys. First, there's Sharunada. He's this wise, super wealthy merchant, a merchant prince they call him, and even in his old age, he's still working hard. And right next to him is Hadan Gula, the flashy, arrogant grandson of his old business partner.
So Sharunada can just feel the kid's contempt for work, and he decides, you know what, time for a lesson. He knows the real story behind Hadan Gula's fortune, and he offers to tell him how his partnership with the boy's grandfather, Arid Gula, actually started. The kid, of course, thinks he's about to hear some get-rich-quick secret, so he's all ears.
But here's the twist. The story doesn't begin with a brilliant investment or a pile of gold. It starts with this shocking revelation. The foundation of all their family's wealth, it wasn't built in some fancy office. It was forged in chains. Sharunada and the boy's grandfather started their journey together not as partners, but as slaves.
And right there, in that slave caravan, shuffling across the desert, a huge debate started to brew. Even while they were chained together, the men came up with two totally opposite ways of thinking about their situation and about the work they were forced to do.
So basically, all the slaves had a choice to make. You could go down the path of this guy Zabato. His entire goal was to do the absolute bare minimum, to get by without really trying. Or you could follow the path of another man, Megiddo, who gave Sharunada this piece of advice that would change his life. Don't fight your work. Make it your friend.
And this was Megiddo's whole philosophy. He argued that taking pride in what you do, no matter how small or crummy the job is, actually improves you as a person. It builds your character, your strength, your self-respect, even when you literally have nothing else in the world. This isn't about impressing a master. It's about making yourself better.
And you know what? These philosophies had immediate life and death consequences. When they got to the slave market, Zabato, who bragged about being lazy, was seen as useless. He was sent to work on the Great Walls of Babylon, which was basically a death sentence. But Sharunida, who took Megiddo's advice, showed he was eager to work and was sold to a baker. One path led straight to ruin, the other to a tiny sliver of opportunity.
Now, let's be clear, being sold to a baker wasn't freedom, not even close. But it was a chance. And Sharunada's mindset, his philosophy about work, was about to let him turn that tiny chance into something much, much bigger, though his journey was far from easy. He didn't just punch the clock and do his job. No, he mastered the art of baking. And then he went a step further. He saw that his afternoons were free, so he pitched his master a business idea. Let him bake extra honey cakes and sell them on the streets, and they'd split the profits. It was this hustle, this drive to create something out of nothing, that led him to meet another slave, Arad Gila, the grandson's ancestor.
And this part is so key. Arad Gula wasn't just impressed by the honey cakes themselves. I mean, they were probably good, but what really blew him away was the hustle. He saw a man who, even in chains, was creating his own opportunities. It was the work ethic, the enterprise, that he never forgot.
But then, disaster. Sharunada's master was a gambler, and he lost everything. And to pay off his debts, he sold Sharunada. All the progress, all the little savings, gone, just like that. He was sent to the single most dreaded place for a slave in all of Babylon, the canal.
And this place was pure hell. Imagine hauling baskets of dirt in the scorching desert sun from dawn till dusk, being beaten, barely fed. It was here, at his absolute lowest point, that he almost gave up. He started to think that maybe Zabato was right all along,
that work was just a curse, and all his effort had been for absolutely nothing.
But just as he was about to lay down in the dirt and just let it all end, something incredible happened. The work he had done before, the impression he had made, it was about to come back and save him in a way he could have never, ever imagined.
Out of nowhere, he's pulled from the line. He's terrified, thinking he's being sold off to someone even worse. They bring him back to the city, filthy and broken, and lead him into a courtyard. And there, he sees a familiar face. It's Arad Gula, the guy who used to buy his honey cakes.
And Arad Gula is no longer a slave. He's a free man, a successful man, and he tells Sharunada that he never forgot about the slave boy with that incredible drive. He'd spent years looking for him, and now he'd bought his freedom. But he didn't just set him free, he offered him a partnership. He said Sharunada's work ethic was the very thing that inspired his own success.
And in that moment, it all clicked. Sharunada finally understood the truth. It wasn't luck that rescued him from the canal. It was his work. The enterprise he showed selling those silly honey cakes had become his savior. When he had lost everything and everyone, work was the one friend that came back for him.
So back on the caravan, hearing this story completely humbles the arrogant grandson, Hadan Gula. He quietly takes off his expensive rings, his flashy jewelry, all these symbols of a fortune he now understands was earned through sheer grit. And he makes a vow to follow in his grandfather's real footsteps and to make work his friend too.
So the lesson here isn't just work hard. It's so much deeper. It's that your commitment to doing good work, your pride in your craft, your enterprise, the reputation you build, that becomes your most powerful asset. It opens doors you can't predict, it builds a character that can't be broken, and ultimately, it's the real engine of your own freedom.
And that leaves us all with one final question to think about. You might not be selling honey cakes on a dusty street, but every single day, the way you approach your work is being noticed. Your enterprise, your ethic, your pride. It's making an impression on someone. So the question is, what seeds are you planting today that might just grow into the very thing that saves you tomorrow?